Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Just Law on IQRA TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia and this is the second part to the show. Just before the break we were looking at spouse applications and in particular the financial documents that need to be submitted to make a successful spouse application. Before we turn to that, let's take our next call. Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
वालेकुम सलाम
जी, thank you for calling. जी, what's your question?
जी मेरा क्वेश्चन है कि हमने एप्लीकेशन स्पाउस वीज़ा के लिए एक्सटेंशन के लिए डाली
जी
तो मेरी वाइफ जो एम्प्लॉई है मेरी कंपनी की ना
जी ओके
शी अर्निंग 14.5
जी
per year
okay
and I earn somewhere other company for somebody else about 7,000 a year.
जी okay
So do I need to show my company like as a self-employed as well, or because we meet with the like as the employee requirement, do I need to show like other my self-employment stuff as well?
आपकी जो वाइफ है ना तो she is working in your company, yep.
Yeah.
जो the shareholding is owned by you, yep.
Yeah, she's not any secretary or shareholding. She is not director. Only me and my friend director.
All right, okay. The problem is कि उसने अभी क्या किया? They've changed the rules on these type of companies. Before, what it used to say was that if you are a director of the company and the shares are held by your family members, so then it becomes this special class of employee, special class of company where 12 months documents need to be submitted. Now that was only for directors. Now what they've done is that even if you are an employee in a company where the shareholding is held by your family members and the remaining shares which are held by non-family members are held by less than 5 people, then it becomes this special class of company for which additional documents do have to be submitted. So because आपका wife का जो employment है, it's in a company which you own, even though she is just an employee, आपको submit जो additional documents है वो submit करने पड़ेंगे. So the starting point इसमें ये है ना कि duration, what duration do the documents need to cover? तो इसमें because it's a limited company, the duration is the financial year of the company. So जो भी accountant ने जो भी बनाया है, it could be January.
No, because it's only started in December 2016. I haven't submitted any accounts yet.
Okay, so if it started in December 2016, तो most likely इसमें क्या है कि the financial year is December 2016 to December 2017. Most likely that's the financial year of the company, right? So it's important because wife के जो documents है ना, they need to cover that period, December 16 to December 17. And then when it comes to your documents, आपके जो documents है ना, they need to cover that period as well.
No, I get salary. I don't get salary from my company. I get salary from, I work for somebody else as well.
Okay.
So I get salary from somebody else.
So you know the salary that you get from somebody else.
Yeah.
What you will need to do is show the salary that you received during December 16 to December 17. Were you working at the time?
Basically, I took salary from January 16 to March, January 17 to March 17 from my company.
That's
then
fine.
April,
so you include
April
that.
up to now I get from somebody else.
So you can show both, ne? Both. So the first of all, we've worked out, okay, what is the duration for the financial evidence that needs to be submitted. The duration is December to December, both for her and for you.
Yeah.
So in terms of wage slips and bank statements, and for you as far as the second job is concerned, the employment letter, that has to cover December 16 to December 17. And for you, December 16, December 17. So they're the minimum documents such as your wage slips, your bank statements, employment letter, your P60s. So that's the basic documents for that period. In addition to that, there's a whole host of other documents that will need to be submitted in relation to your company for which your wife works. Now they are, and I've got a list here because I was going to talk about that today, company tax return, evidence of registration with company's house, accounts prepared by your accountant, the business bank statements for that 12 months, December 16 to December 17, wife's personal bank statements, obviously, to show money's gone into her account for December 16 to December 17, current appointment report, and then one other matter, such as a VAT certificate, ownership of the lease for the premises that it occupies, or if those don't apply, just the original letter from HMRC which confirms that the business is registered with HMRC to take on employees. So basically, they're the documents that need to be covered. It's December 16 to December 17. You've got your wage slips, you've got your bank statements, employment letter, and your P60. And then you've got these additional documents, your tax returns, company's house documents, appointments report, business bank statements, and the proof of registration with HMRC to pay PAYE in relation to the employee. So it is more complicated and a bit more extensive than, you know, the normal 6 months wage slips and 6 months bank statements, but that is because your wife is working for a company for which you are the shareholder. Wasn't the case before, but the rules have been amended so that in this situation you're caught by the more extensive requirement as well. Does that make sense, or if there's anything else that you need assistance with?
No, not even if we show 12 months pay slips, because I haven't, my accountant haven't done any counts yet, so he have to do before, because are we applying like for February next week, first week?
Is it this year you're applying? February this year?
Yeah, February.
The accountant will need to print off the wage slips now.
No, I have all the wage slip, everything.
Okay.
So all the documents until last 12 months. I have like pay slips for the last 12 months for both of us.
I understand, but he hasn't done the accounts or anything of that nature yet.
Yeah, I haven't prepared anything for the company because I didn't know for the company purpose.
Because it looks like the financial year has just finished, December 2017. Normally the accountants would do it 9 months, 10 months later. I mean, if the accountant can get this done and you can submit it with the application, that would be better. I would try and push the accountant to try and get it done. The problem with the accountants at the moment is January is the worst time because they're getting all their self-assessments in, all the tax returns being submitted at the moment. So normally January is the worst time. But in my experience, the first week of February, the accountants are normally.
So if we meet all our salary through like by salaried income, I don't need to show any dividend or.
No, you don't. No, you can just combine your wife's income through your company and your own income, which is initially, I think, for the first few months in 17 through your own company. The remaining months you worked for somebody else. You can show that, and that would be sufficient. You don't need to show any dividend income, because I think you've said wife gets about 14.5, you get about 7, so combined we're well above £20,000. The problem is just getting the documents together, but you're going to have to do it. But I mean, and I've looked at this before. The thing is, it's sometimes you can get away with it if the Home Office doesn't know that your wife is working for a company which is owned by her husband. You could get away with it if the caseworker doesn't check. But nowadays it's so easy. You just go on company's house. And
no, they asked me, are you, when I put my salaried income, they asked, are you director of any company?
That's the problem. No? You go into company's house, you go on to see who are the directors of the company, and your name will come up, the spouse's name will come up. So it's a very easy check that the Home Office caseworker needs to do to find out that it is a connected company or particular company for which extensive documents have to be submitted. So what I would do is speak to the accountant now. Hopefully within the first week of February they do become free, and to say to them, look, can you just get this ready? Maybe it's a day's work, but they should be able to get it ready in the first couple of days into February 2017. So hopefully you should be able to submit it. Now let's say worst case scenario, you can't submit it on time. I think in my experience the Home Office caseworkers are a bit flexible. Even if you submitted later, they do seem to be accepting the documents at the moment.
I'm going for premium service.
Well, if you're going for premium, even for the premium service, they may say to you, we'll give you 5 days to submit the additional documents, but don't take the risk. Try and take everything with you. At the right time.
And also, sorry, the document you said, like directorship appointments, can I print just from online or also
online?
Business statements, business account statements?
Yeah, I mean, the company's house documents are easy to print. The current appointment report is something you can get from the company's house website. The incorporation certificate, again, it's something that you can get from the company's house website. The business bank statements, obviously, is something that you're going to have yourself, and it needs to be original business bank statements for that duration that you will need to submit.
All right.
Now, the only other thing which really doesn't apply to you is because sometimes the financial year might have finished a long time ago. The financial year might be June to June. So it could have finished in June 2017, but it doesn't apply. You do need to submit up-to-date documents, but it doesn't apply to you because your financial year for the company has just finished in December 2017 and you're applying in February. So the financial year is quite recent. The ending of the financial. So you don't need any up-to-date documents for January and February. Your documents up to December 2017 for you will be sufficient because your financial year has just come to an end within the last 3 months. But you do need to get these additional documents together as well.
All right.
Is that okay? If you're stuck, if you go on to the Home Office website, there is a guidance document on this. If you just Google Appendix FM SE guidance, you should be able to find the relevant document on the website. Thank you very much for your call. We'll take our next call. Hello, अस्सलाम वालेकुम.
हेलो वालेकुम सलाम सर, क्या हाल है?
जी अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह ठीक ठाक. जी भाई आप कैसे हो? ठीक?
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह ठीक ठाक सर. मैं स्कॉटलैंड से बात कर रहा हूँ.
जी.
और मेरा जो है तकरीबन 5.5 साल पहले मैंने असाइलम केस किया था.
जी.
तो अभी तक जो है एक दफ़ा पहले रिफ्यूज़ हुआ है और सेकंड टाइम अपील की थी आज से 1.5 साल पहले ना.
जी.
तो वो भी रिफ्यूज़ हो गई है. तो अभी एक दिन मैं ना इधर टीवी पे देख रहा था. प्रोग्राम आ रहा था कोई बैरिस्टर्स वगैरह का ना लूटन से.
जी.
तो वो बता रहे थे कि जो है बच्चा अगर यहाँ बोर्न हुआ है और 5 साल से ऊपर का हो गया तो आप मतलब नया केस उसकी बेस पे डाल सकते हैं और उसमें चांसेस होते हैं कि उसको जो है डायरेक्ट जो है मतलब पासपोर्ट वगैरह मिल सकता है. तो उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा मैंने इन्फॉर्मेशन लेनी थी.
जी. इसमें जो पासपोर्ट की बात है ना.
जी.
इसमें नॉर्मल जो बेसिक रूल है कि अगर कोई चाइल्ड यूके में बोर्न हुआ है, नॉट बाहर से नहीं आया, यूके में बोर्न हुआ है चाइल्ड.
यूके में बोर्न हुआ है ना.
जी. तो अगर इफ ही स्पेंड्स 10 years in the United Kingdom, 10 years in the United Kingdom, तो जब उसकी एज 10 years की होती है, the child automatically qualifies for registration. So इसमें कोई और बताने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, सिर्फ the child was born here and has lived in the UK for 10 years. There are only 2 requirements we need to show, birth and residence. So that's the starting point. कि उसको guaranteed at the age of 10 वो जो child है, child qualifies for a British passport registration so that they can get a British passport. Straightforward है. आपने जो 5 years की बात की ना, that only applies to certain limited cases. वो उसको apply होता है कि जो those children who are stateless. So those children जिसके पास कोई nationality नहीं है, right? So इसमें it depends. It depends parents की nationality पे depend होता है. Because for some countries, children जब वो born होते हैं, for some countries the children are automatically the citizens of the parents' home country. So for पाकिस्तान का ये situation है कि बच्चे born होते हैं country के बाहर, तब भी वो they are Pakistani citizens. They can register whenever they want. There's a difference with Indian citizenship. India का क्या है कि if the children are born outside the UK, the children are not automatically Indian citizens until they are registered. So because of Indian nationality law, the child who has not been registered with the embassy is stateless. तो वो stateless है. Because that child is stateless, तो उसके लिए ये situation है कि after 5 years they qualify for nationality. ये concession है for stateless children. But the problem is कि whether someone is stateless or not depends on the nationality of their parents. Pakistani children stateless nahi hote. Indian citizenship laws are such that if the child is not registered with the embassy, the child is stateless. To uske liye, after 5 years, you can apply for citizenship. So the normal case, aapke liye jo hai na, ke after 10 years they can get passport. Now there's one other point you need to bear in mind. I know आपने कहा कि asylum cases सब कुछ refuse हो गया है. जब UK में once your child has lived in the UK for 7 years, not 5 or 10, 7 years. Once they have lived in the 7 years, आप application डाल सकते हैं आपके child के basis पे. It would be unreasonable to send the child back to their home country. Magar that is an application that should be made once the child has lived in the UK for 7 years. So I don't know आपके children का क्या situation है, but what I generally advise in this situation is that once the children have been in the UK for 7 years, make the application based on the children. They may refuse it, you will get a right of appeal. So by the time the right of appeal and those matters are exhausted, the children will be here for about 8-9 years. So if that doesn't succeed, once the child has been here for 10 years, the child will qualify for a passport anyway, and then based on the passport that the child has, the British passport that the child has, the parents would then again be able to apply for some kind of a visa to remain in the United Kingdom. So that's basically the answer to your question. Hopefully that answers your question. Okay, so just recapping on that last one, it's important where there are children, where the child is stateless, yep, you can apply for citizenship after 5 years. Where the child isn't stateless and has been living in the UK, was born here, living in the UK for 10 years, you can apply for British citizenship after 10 years. If you don't want to wait 10 years, once your children have been living in the UK for 7 years, even though you're all overstayers, the children have been living in the UK for 7 years, after 7 years, you can apply for a visa based on the children's 7 years residence in the United Kingdom. If it's refused, normally the Home Office will grant a right of appeal and the judge will then decide what is reasonable. Is it reasonable for the children to stay in the United Kingdom, or is it reasonable for the children to be made to go back to the United Kingdom? And based on the determination as to what should happen with the children, obviously that determines what happens with the parents. If the children, as far as the children is concerned, if it's unreasonable to send them back, it then follows that the parents will be allowed to stay in the United Kingdom as well. So hopefully that answers that question. Now, we looked at spouse applications, and in particular the kind of documents which need to be submitted, and I dealt with wage slips, and I dealt with how we need to make sure that the wage slips match up with the bank statements. You need to make sure that the duration of the documents are right. You need to also make sure that the last document is not more than 28 days old. Now, I'll quickly look at the position with bank statements. Again, the key point about bank statements is that the document has to meet certain requirements, such as the document does need to be original, or it needs to be stamped by the bank issuing the bank statements. Now, the problem is we've now come to the end of the show, but what I'll do is look at this in greater detail next week, along with what documents we need to be submitted where the sponsor is self-employed. But hopefully, inshallah, we'll be back next week on Monday at 6 o'clock. Until then, Assalamu alaikum.